What it is, man, it's your boy Top New York Tone Sunshine, and you watching me on Team Focus Radio with So Focused.
You know what it is, man. Team Focus Radio. I'm your host, So Focused. Right now, I got my man with me right here, man. Tony Sunshine. What's good, man? What's cracking?
Ain't shit, brother.
First of all, you just did a crazy performance just now, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it,
man. Loved it.
Thank you, my brother.
So I'm gonna get to the basics. First of all, you're from the BX. Can you tell people, like, what's your experience growing up in the Bronx?
I mean, what can I tell you? It's a rough place, but it's like any other environment that has hoods in it. A hood is a hood. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So what made you decide to be a musician? Like, what age? Like, what was in your mind to say, you know what, I'm gonna start doing music?
It sort of came natural. I've been singing since I was 5 years old. My mother discovered I could sing. One day, I was singing a Menudo record in the kitchen, and my mother heard me singing, and she ran to the kitchen and she asked me to do it again.
Yeah.
You know, so I sang it over again, and she asked me to do it again, and I did it again. And after that, we used to go to this like family. It's like a little pool hall, but it was like a family function. Everybody knew each other, and everybody brought their kids along and things like that. And so I used to go down there, and there was a jukebox down there. And the jukebox, they had a lot of Spanish records. You know, there was this one particular record by Mark Anthony. And I used to sing that record. And all the old folks that were there would take notoriety of how I would sing. There was this guy in there called Rafi Sabatel. Rafi Sabatel is Johnny Sabatel's brother. He invited me to the 116 festivals in Spanish Harlem, where Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, Eddie Santiago, and people like that used to sing. They invited me. I went there for like 3 years in a row as a kid. I sang with Celia Cruz, Tito Puente. I got a chance to sing with them. And during that time, let's just say I made a transition to English music because my mother was cleaning out the house one time. And within the closet, there was a milk crate full of 8 tracks. She was gonna throw that milk crate out. I asked if I could keep it. Those 8 tracks consist of Patti LaBelle, Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight and the Pits, you know, Ray Charles, you name it, you know. I asked if I could keep them. She told me yes. I ran off, you know, I guess I remember, if I'm correct, to like a Salvation Army, and I bought an 8-track player. It was broken, it didn't work, but as a kid, you know, you take shit apart and you put it back together. I put the 8-track machine back together, I popped it in, I listened to the 8 tracks, and once I heard the soulful music, R&B music, I fell in love with that, and I put Spanish music to the back burner. I've always represented for my people, but I fell in love with that sound, and I made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do.
Respect, man.
You know, so the rest is history.
Definitely. I think what technology is, the way it is now, do you think that artists should sign a record deal because you have things like SoundCloud, YouTube, and all these things like that? So do you think that an artist is coming up right now should sign a deal or sign a record deal right now?
Well, it depends. It depends, you know, who the artist is and how their work ethic is, or whether they in the struggle, whether they need backing, whether they don't, you know. But today, with all the platforms that artists have, like Facebook Live, IG Live, Twitter, you know, YouTube channel, Vivo channels, things like that, it's much easier for artists today to showcase his talent without having to go and sign to a label. So, I mean, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. An artist is not always gonna have the means to fulfill his dreams. So that's where a major label comes into play. Now, if you're a person that you're in the grind and you go out there and you make things happen on your own and your work ethic is everything, then you have platforms that you can utilize.
Definitely. Now, I think a lot of times rappers now, they kind of sing now. So with things like auto-tune and things like that, do you think that R&B is gonna exist in 5 years?
Well, everything goes 360. Of course, the R&B sound is gonna come back. When it's gonna come back, I don't know, but I'm ready for it. Now, as far as auto-tune goes, I'm a strong believer of respecting other people's craft and what they bring to the table and the evolution of hip-hop and music in itself. What they're doing today, right now, at this present moment, I was doing 15 years ago. When I was doing it, it had never been heard, and they told me that it wouldn't work, and people really didn't understand what I was doing. There really wasn't no R&B singers talking about gangster shit back then. It wasn't a big thing back then, and they told me it would never work. So when Joe does interviews and they ask him about me, he likes to say I was ahead of my time. A lot of people that talk about Tone Sunshine say he was ahead of his time, and I respect that. I love it though. I respect it. I respect what they're doing today.
Definitely. Now, I also hear you talk about God in your interviews a lot. So,
say again?
Talk about God in your interviews. You mentioned God. So how important has God been in your life?
I've always been a strong believer in God. There was a time where I lost my faith for a minute, being in the streets and running around and doing the things I was doing. I fell into a dark place and I lost my faith. But God is good. He is the greatest. You got to put your effort. You just can't believe that you're going to ask God for something and it's going to happen. You got to meet him halfway. So with my experiences and the things I've been through and the things I've learned, I learned that God is great, You don't ask God for material things. You don't ask God to get you a house. You don't ask God to find you a job. You don't ask God to take care of your kids. You don't ask God for a bag of money. You just have faith in the Lord and you accept his love and you love him back and you meet him halfway. God's job is to give you strength. God's job is to give you willpower. It's up to you to accept that willpower and it's up to you to go hard with it.
Definitely.
So
you ever been starstruck before?
Starstruck?
Yeah.
Not really. I was starstruck one time. I was in the elevator in the Sony building with Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
And that's like one of my idols right there. So I was in there in the elevator and I was like really quiet. He was with a female in the elevator and he had her by the wrist.
Yeah.
And I guess by the wrist and how they move, I guess he could tell what's going on. And he was moving and he was like, well, ain't you gonna say something? And of course I didn't say shit because I couldn't believe I was in the elevator with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what's up, bro. But you have any crazy industry stories, been in the game so long?
I got a whole lot of crazy industry stories, but I'm one of them guys that keep them things to myself. You know what I mean?
I respect it. So what advice would you give to up-and-coming artists and coming in the game right now?
Be humble, smile, shake hands. Everything ain't for everybody. Don't portray to be something you're not. Study your craft, practice makes perfect, and again, be humble, smile, shake hands, make friends, network.
So you being friends with the late great, rest in peace to him, Big Pun, like how would you explain his personality?
Pun was the greatest. He was funny. Pun was charismatic, funny, witty. At the same time, he could be a strong, how can I say, he had a strong character. He could either like you or dislike you. You could either have a good time with him or you could have a bad time with him. It's up to you.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what are you working on right now?
I got so many things I'm working on right now. I got an EP that I'm working on with Bilal and Cliff Lighty. They were part of the Clutch. They wrote a lot of records for Usher and a lot of records for Mary J, Jaheim, things like that. So I got an EP that I'm working on with them. Joe and I are working on some music right now. And of course, I'm doing my own thing. I got a whole set of EPs that I'm working on. I stay working. I got about 1,000 records. You know what I mean? Everything ain't gonna be for everybody. What you don't like, they gonna like. What she don't like, they gonna like. And you know, that's what it is.
So where does Tony Sunshine see himself in 5 years?
In 5 years,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just trying to build a foundation right now, build an empire to where my children are gonna be good in 5 years. My children are good now, but I want them to be great in 5 years.
Definitely.
You know, ain't no telling if I'm still gonna wanna do music in 5 years. I don't know. Today, I love music. Today, music is my life, is what I wanna do. But I definitely gotta find other ventures and other outlets and put my eggs in other baskets. You know, so right now I'm in the transition of you know, starting my own business, and you know, me and my wife want to get into real estate and things like that. So we're doing other things. I can't really tell you what I'm gonna be doing in 5 years.
Definitely. So for people out there, how can I get in contact with you on social media?
I am Tony Sunshine on Instagram. I am Tony Sunshine on Facebook. Tony Sunshine BX on Twitter. I do have a YouTube channel. Click on that. Link my bio. SoundCloud. That's what it is.
Is there anything you want people out there to know about you before we get out of here?
You know, what you see is what you get. I'm a down-to-earth individual. There's no filter in me. I speak my mind. I'm a lover, not a fighter. You could either be on my good side or my bad side, and that's what it is.
Respect, man.
Yeah.
So you know what it is, man. Team Focus Radio. I'm your host, So
Yes.
Focus. Make sure you hit me up at So Focus of Life, by the way, too.
Right.
Man. And I'm humble right now, man. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you,
My
brother.
dog, man.
Yes.
Tony Sunshine, So Focus. Team
Bye,
Focus
yeah.
Radio. We out of here. Let's get it. Get it.
Yeah.